And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lowdown again. This time, hopefully this will work a little bit better than it did last time. StreamYard for some reason had me muted. So we will be picking up where we left off. Fortunately, we didn't get far into the show. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about the Lakers losing to the Phoenix Suns 113 to 123 in Phoenix in the matinee game. We're going to be talking about Anthony Davis's struggles and how I thought Darvin kind of took him out of the game right from the get. Always great when your coach takes your second best player out of the game. I also think AD played poorly on his own, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the game in particular against the Suns and where it leaves the Lakers here. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. and we will also talk about a tweet that I sent that I just can't stop kind of thinking about. So let's talk about, kind of the lose-lose that some Lakers fans might find themselves here with a team coached by somebody who I don't think anybody really trusts anymore. So there's a lot to get to, obviously, here. Let's go ahead and get to it. All right, so again, the Lakers lose 113 to 123 in Phoenix to the Phoenix Suns. The Lakers fall to 31 and 28. The Phoenix Suns jump to 34 and 24. The Lakers find themselves kind of tumbling down the standings right now in a way that is a little concerning, I think, at this point. They are already in a precarious spot. I do think for the most part that the standings or the 10 playoff / play in teams are pretty much set for the Western Conference. You look at it and, the Lakers are sitting there at 31 and 28. The next closest team is the Utah Jazz. They have 31 losses. And they're basically tanking at this point. The Houston Rockets, I guess, could technically go on a bit of a run, but they have kind of fallen off. And then from there, you have Memphis, Portland, and San Antonio, three teams that aren't really never really figured into this conversation at all. So, the Lakers do, I guess, get a little bit of leeway here because of the way the season has played out to this point. But they were certainly hoping to avoid being in the 10 spot, where if the Lakers were to make the playoffs, they would have to go through 2 road play-in games, essentially. And that's a lot to ask. It's a lot that you're up against there to even get into the playoffs. If you enter the play-in with only only the 10 seed. So we're going to talk a little bit about the situation and all of that stuff. Let's talk about the game, though. The Lakers, I thought, started this one pretty ugly. The first quarter, they got outscored 45 to 28. Anthony Davis got into some foul trouble early with 2 first quarter fouls, and Darvin Ham subbed him out. By the way, Anthony Davis finished with 3 fouls, 3 of them. Sometimes as a head coach, you just got to trust your guy. And what's funny is that, he trusted Anthony Davis just the other day. He just trusted Anthony Davis in a similar spot where he picked up 2 kind of quick fouls guarding Wemby. And you would think guarding Wemby actually puts you at a worse spot. And if you're concerned about your second best player picking up a 3rd foul and really taking him out of the half. In this one, Devin Booker doesn't really apply much rim pressure. Kevin Durant doesn't really apply much rim pressure. Maybe Nurkic gets another offensive rebound and you wind up fouling Nurkic for your 3rd foul in the first quarter. But by the time AD got back in, the Lakers were down 20, and they really had to go on a run to even get back into the game. Now they did, fortunately, but your margin for error at that point is so small that it's just, you're asking everybody to do some Herculean things to even be competitive again. And, lo and behold, and Phil Jackson used to have, talk about these games a lot, that when you put yourself into a hole the way that the Lakers did, you expend so much energy just getting back into the game that you're never really able to get back over the hump. And in this one, the Lakers, got within, I think 5 was the closest that they got, and then missed 2 3-pointers. Grayson Allen goes to the other end of the on the other end, hits his, and that 5-point lead jumps back up to an 8-point lead. And then the Lakers were kind of in that pocket. I think the closest they got again was about 6 points or so. And that was really kind of the game from there. And they got into that, kind of 9 to 11 to 12 to an 8, that they're in that range, in that pocket where you're in the game, but you really kind of you need to go on another run to really figure into threatening to win it. And the Lakers weren't able to go on that one extra run that you needed. And that, I think, was kind of how the game went on a macro level. Now, we're going to be talking about some of the specific decisions that were made that I really didn't get, and the explanations since make it even worse. But first, let's get to a couple of these comments. We have 2 of them, which means we go one more time. We got another one, so we'll go twice. So the first one here comes from Lil Chris Johnson 18. Ham in his 4-guard lineup is not good at all. Brandon Olmeng also, I don't understand Ham. If one of AR or D'Lo isn't playing well, you bench them and you play either Max or maybe Spencer Dinwiddie. Also, Prince should never play more than 20 minutes. I would say like 24 minutes is apparently the sweet spot here for Taurean Prince. If he gets above 25 minutes or so, you're getting yourself into trouble. And that's where the Lakers found themselves in this one. Taurean Prince, by the way, played 27 minutes, 3 of 10 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3-point range, a game worst minus 13 as he was being asked to guard Devin Booker and he was being asked to guard Kevin Durant. And I'm just going to say this. If it gets aggregated, it gets aggregated. But I have talked previously about the way other teams scout the Lakers, right? And this is per like people around the league, people I talked to from other teams. I gave the one, way earlier in the season, I said a scout told me that they don't even fear the things that the Lakers do offensively all of the time because they know eventually they're just going to go away from it because their coaching staff isn't like disciplined enough to stick with the things and spam the things that are really working. But another thing that I've been told by league personnel who have had to like prepare for playing against the Lakers is they don't necessarily scout the Lakers. They scout that Milwaukee Bucks title team that Darvin Ham was an assistant coach on. And, so basically like they scout for Anthony Davis, but they know that Darvin wants to use him like Brooke Lopez. And they will scout for, Austin Reeves, but they know that he, Darvin would prefer him to play like Pat Connaughton. They will scout for, you could use whatever player you want here next. And they prepare for them to a certain extent for that, like that actual player, but not necessarily specifically as it pertains to the Lakers, because they know that eventually Darvin is going to want to like make the Lakers a version of that Bucks team that won the championship that year when he doesn't have personnel that aligns with that perfectly. And the reason I say all of this is because Taurean Prince comes to mind. And I've been told that Darvin wants Taurean Prince to basically play like and fill the role of Chris Middleton. And that's why you see a lot of like the Taurean Prince ISO stuff. And that's why his light is so green. And he spends so much time guarding the other team's best player. And you're asking a $5-ish million player to do all of the things that like a $30-ish million player does for their team. And that's, not going to end well. And I think like when we keep on watching and we keep wondering why Taurean Prince has such a leash, it's because he's the best equipped to fill the Chris Middleton role. But in reality, what the Lakers need to realize is that they don't have anybody to fill that role, and therefore they need to adjust to the actual roster as it exists. And you're what, almost 60 games in here. Yeah, this was the 59th game that the Lakers played tonight. So you're almost 60 games in. Actually, they played the in-season tournament final, which doesn't count. So this was the 60th game that the Lakers have played, and Darvin Ham apparently doesn't know who Taurean Prince is. That's probably not great. The other thing here is, and you see it over there on the right. For those of you who are watching live, please do hit that subscribe button on YouTube. If you are watching on Twitter, please go to youtube.com and subscribe to the Lakers Lounge. That is youtube.com/@Lakers Lounge is where you can find us. If you're listening in the next, in the morning or whatever, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, preferably Odyssey. That is my employer. But I want to talk about Anthony Davis, and I don't want to completely excuse the way that he played, because I thought that Davis, for the most part, was pretty bad, like by his standards. I know people are going to look at it and say, well, he was 11 of 17 and scored 22 points, and he grabbed 14 rebounds and 3 steals and 2 blocks and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, but if you were watching, Nurkic pretty much did whatever he wanted with Anthony Davis on both ends of the court. I thought the Suns did a really good job, and honestly, I think the Warriors did a very good job of this as well in those 2 losses, one to the Warriors, one here to the Suns. Anthony Davis combined for 1 assist between the 2 games, and I think a lot of these teams are trapping Anthony Davis in a way that makes him, they're trapping him in unique ways, and it's made him a worse passer. And when the Lakers look really, really good, it's when Anthony Davis is really facilitating. And the more that teams take him out of his ability to do that, I think that is where the Lakers have really kind of struggled recently. But I also thought, like, you look at this one, Nurkic grabbed 15. Oh, no, he grabbed 22 rebounds in this one. 7 of those rebounds were offensive. And a lot of that, obviously coincided when Anthony Davis was out there on the court. And it was a lot of Nurkic kind of backing him into the rim. And Darvin is kind of complaining about the foul trouble. The Lakers did only shoot 8 free throws in this one. As a team, they only shot 8. That's the fewest that they've shot so far this year. They only shot 35 3-pointers, so it isn't like they were chucking and weren't trying to get to the rim, but there was a lot of stuff happening in the mid-range. Anthony Davis, I think, only got to the free throw line. No, he didn't get to the free throw line. And it was statistically, it's going to look like a fine game, but I thought by Anthony Davis's standards, this was a bad one. He also hit a couple shots there late in the game once the game had basically been decided. And if you are going to, try to win a game against Phoenix when Kevin Durant plays the way that he did, where he scores 22 points, he honestly didn't play that great. 22 points on 20 shots. That's part of why I think the Lakers were kind of in this one. Devin Booker also not incredible. 21 points on 18 shots for Booker. You look at the other guys, though. Grayson Allen made 6 3-pointers. Royce O'Neal made 6 3-pointers of his own. And I just think, if the other guys are going to play the way that they did, you need AD to be AD, and he wasn't. And, for everything that I'm going to complain about with Darvin, you do need more from AD. And I do think that part of this kind of goes back to AD being taken out in that first quarter and having his rhythm kind of messed with. Sometimes, like if an opposing and imposing big really sets the tone physically against Anthony Davis, Davis will tend to struggle in those ones. And I think that's what we saw here with Nurkic, where on both sides of the court, Anthony Davis was never particularly comfortable and really kind of struggled as a result of it, and became, kind of the worst version of him that you're going to get. And, again, part of it is like the rhythm thing where AD gets taken out of the game early, and, the Lakers wind up having to go away from him because he wasn't on the court, and then they go on this run, and it was just, kind of a weird spot there. And I do kind of blame Darvin to a certain extent with that stuff, because I just don't think you need to take Anthony Davis out of the game in the first quarter for foul trouble. Like if you're doing what the other team is hoping for you to do, it's kind of like going for it on fourth down. We've all rooted for a team, and the other team will, elect to punt at their 45-yard line when it's 4th and 2 or 3, or even better, right? If they punt on your 45-yard line when it's like 4th and 4, you wind up kind of saying like, oh, thank God, thank goodness, thank you for punting there. And I kind of feel like that's how Phoenix kind of took in this game, where they get those 2 early fouls on AD, and then Darvin takes him out of the game, and Phoenix is like, whew, all right, thank goodness, hell yeah, bring Jackson Hayes in here. Let's mess him up a little bit. And that's what it wound up looking like. Hayes in 6 minutes was a -8 today. It was a bad game for Anthony Davis. And I thought Darvin played a role in it being that bad, but I also don't want to make it sound as if I'm excusing Anthony Davis in any real way. At the end of the day, he needed to play better. He didn't. And frankly, I think the Lakers lost because Anthony Davis played that poorly. Let's talk about Darvin Ham, though. And again, I sent a tweet. I'll go ahead and screen grab it, and I will pull it up here for those of you who are watching on YouTube, so that we can look at it and read it together. But I sent a tweet in that game, and I was, really kind of frustrated with, the Anthony Davis situation and the way that Taurean Prince has been used so far this year. Here's what I wrote. I'm in a weird spot with this team. I obviously want them to succeed, but any success that increases the chances Ham is back next year might actually be a net negative. He's the worst coach I've ever had to watch, Byron included. Now, I know a lot of the attention since I sent that tweet was about that last sentence, that this is the worst coach I've ever had to watch, Byron included. And a lot of people are like, well, is he worse than Luke Walton? Is he really worse than Byron? How about that disastrous Mike D'Antoni season? Okay, fine. Like you want to get into the semantics here and get into the comparison shopping or whatever. I think you're kind of missing the point, because if Darvin is really in that grouping of some of the worst coaches I have ever seen, right? Byron Scott was just abysmal. And Luke Walton literally made Brook Lopez never want to play for the Lakers again. And made Julius Randle want to leave as quickly as he possibly could have too. And if we're like debating, is Darvin worse than those two guys? I think that's the bigger point here. I think the bigger point is actually at the beginning of that tweet, where I'm like, do I really want the Lakers to do anything this year? Do I want them to get out of the first round if it means that it's more likely that Darvin Ham is actually back next year? That to me should be like the big bright lights thing, right? Like, I'm a writer. You never bury the lead. If the lead was, I think Byron, or I think Darvin is as bad as Byron, or I think he's as bad as Luke, or I think he's as bad as Mike D'Antoni when he was a Lakers coach, I would say I would have put that at the top. But no, I think the bigger deal here is the fact that I'm sitting here like, all right, let's be real, right? I'm going to do the Stephen A. Smith thing. All right, let's be real. Let's actually really examine this. I'm going to bring this down here. You guys can see me. There's a very serious moment here in the Lakers lounge, or on the Lakers Lowdown. Do we really want the Lakers to win a playoff series? Like, if I had to tell you, this is your call. The Lakers win a playoff series, one playoff series, and Darvin Ham comes back. Or you waste another LeBron season, but Darvin Ham isn't back next year. Which do you pick? Kind of sucks that we're in this spot, right? Like, it's not great that we're stuck here and we're like, I don't know. I'm not positive which is the better outcome here. And that's the spot that the Lakers and Jeannie and Rob Pelinka have put us in, where we're here trying to decide, is it better for the Lakers to lose early in the playoffs this year because it increases the chances that we don't have to watch Hot Pockets next season? That's crazy. That's insane. I can't believe, and it's actually a real conversation. It's a real conversation I've had multiple times over the course of the last couple weeks or so, whether it's on this show, whether it's right now, whether it's with people in DMs and texts and stuff like that, and with sources, because the way that I get my sourcing is I just talk to people. I have conversations with people, and I pluck nuggets from those conversations, and I offer them up to you fine folks. And so when I'm having those conversations, I'm legitimately asking league personnel, hey man, so what would you be rooting for here, right? And I'll have coaches from those other teams, and they'll be like, well, obviously I would want my team to win basketball games because my job is at stake with losing those basketball, or if we lose or win those basketball games. So okay, I get it from your perspective, but then I'll talk to people higher up in some in some organizations, and they'll be like, honestly, I think you're onto something. You just hope that Anthony Davis has this good of a season next year, and that LeBron James is once again this good somehow in his year 40 or age 40 season. And you see what the Lakers could possibly become without Darvin Ham holding them back, because this isn't just me. This isn't just my analysis. I think he's holding them back. There were other people who were also do what I do and in their analysis of this. It's the overwhelmingly popular stance here is that Darvin Ham is holding back this Lakers team. And, this league is too competitive to hope to compete consistently when your coach is doing dumbass stuff, like having at one point today, the lineup was Anthony Davis, fine. D'Angelo Russell, all right, that's fine. Austin Reeves, yeah, 2 starters, okay. Spencer Dinwiddie, hold on, what? Well, surely they had Rui in there, right, for some muscle? No. Oh no, they had Taurean Prince at the 4. At the 4. That means that this season, Taurean Prince has played point guard. Remember, he started with that all-wing lineup. Shooting guard, probably his most natural position, so that's fine. Small forward, okay, kind of stretching it here. And power forward, Taurean Prince was the guy who can't rebound in a game that the Lakers are struggling to rebound. Taurean Prince was your power forward at one moment? What? Multiple times on purpose? And then Darvin Ham says after the game that apparently part of the reason Max Christie wasn't able to get into the game in the first half was because of Anthony Davis's foul trouble. Your center? You couldn't play a defensive-minded shooting guard because your all-world defensive center got in a foul. You would think that that's more of a reason to play Max Christie, because you need more perimeter defense to make up for the fact that Anthony Davis isn't there to clean up stuff behind the perimeter defenders. And it's just it's always an excuse. Always, right? We just heard JJ Redick talk about this stuff with Doc Rivers. He always finds some excuse to make for himself. It always winds up being a player's fault. That's what we're watching this season. That's what we're watching with Darvin Ham. Every time it's well, Darvin, what kind of adjustment can you make at halftime to make up for the fact that Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal haven't been guarded all half? Well, we just got to run harder. Excuse me? What? Huh? And that, by the way, that's me watching, but that's also how the Lakers have reacted to Darvin all season. Every single time they lose, or the other team goes on a run, or another team makes an adjustment that the Lakers have to adjust to, his adjustment is run faster, guys. Try harder. Be grittier. And I don't know, man. Like, it goes back to that question of, would you rather lose early in the postseason if it means for sure that Darvin Ham gets fired, or would you rather win a playoff round, let alone two, and basically ensure that we're right back here doing the same old bullshit next year? I don't know. We do have a super comment on this subject, which means I'm going to play it again because I need to be in a better mood. But that super comment from God King Tony Clifton: percent chance Ham is gone if we finish 11th or worse. We need a consolation price. Also, could you turn on super thanks? I can't always make the stream. I'll find out what that is. Percent chance that Darvin is gone if they finish 11th or worse. I would say it's like a 90% chance that Darvin is gone if the Lakers don't make even the play in. This was too good of a team, and you've had LeBron James and Anthony Davis too healthy to not make the play in even. So that would be, he would be the first to go. But frankly, I think like if you finish 11th, I think Pelinka probably needs to be looked at a little bit more closely. I believe Pelinka and Ham's contracts are actually aligned. So it actually makes it pretty clean if they do fall that far short of expectations, for Genie to just go in and say, like, look, man, you had your chance. They've had a championship run. You've had a Western Conference Finals run, but everything other than that has been mediocre at best. And this has just been too much of a roller coaster ride, given the star level talent that you've had to work with here. This is just not good enough. And I think that at the very least, Darvin Ham is gone. Now, as far as the where that line is interesting, because I've done some digging on this, and I don't know that winning a playoff series is necessarily enough for Darvin. This season has been a mess. You've had basically more than half of the locker room at odds with Darvin basically all season. And there's been some stretches where he goes back to relying on those guys and the Lakers look good, and then he goes away from it and those guys get frustrated all over again. And some of it is their fault, right? Rui hasn't played very well recently. And, Vanderbilt has been hurt, and there are excuses and there's context to take into account here. But as I've been told, I think he needs to go on a lengthy playoff run to not just get further belief from the front office, but probably more importantly, these players. These players have basically the way that from those who were closer to the Lakers and closer to some of these players, the way that I've kind of heard it is that these guys basically, they win in spite of the coach. They play well for themselves and for each other, but it's not to win one for the Gipper, right? It's not. I don't know if you guys remember Major League, was it 2? Yeah, it was Major League 2, where that manager from Major League 2 gets a heart attack, right? In one of my favorite scenes of all time. He's got a knee thing, and he's got a commercial thing, and he's got a movie thing, and then some of us have a heart attack thing. They're like, Coach, who's having a heart attack? And he's like, I'm having a heart attack. And he goes to the hospital, and then he's like in the hospital, and they basically tells everybody, like, win one for me, whatever, I believe. But like, if in this case, like when the Lakers play well, and anytime like good things happen on the court, especially with those core guys from last year, they spend a lot of time like looking back at the sideline, like, you see why we went on a run last time? and I just it's been a really frustrating season for a lot of the involved parties, and I think I think LeBron would like to see Darvin gone. I don't think Anthony Davis particularly cares. That's not really the way that he rolls, but even he has taken some shots at Darvin this year. You just saw the other night or the other day, LeBron, take a picture of him and Pop. Love you, coach. He's complimented Tyronn Lue, and other guys have complimented other coaches. D'Angelo Russell, not a particularly huge Darvin Ham fan. Austin Reeves, not a Darvin Ham fan. Rui Hachimura, not a Darvin Ham fan. And I just think, he's done a lot of damage to his kind of status in that locker room. And I think that so much damage has been done that enough guys, if they were asked by the organization what they would like to happen this offseason, I think a lot of guys would probably stand up and say, like, can we get a new coach? Can we get a coach who does coach things and not just like, preacher things? Can we get somebody who adjusts to a zone occasionally? Can we just try it? Can we? And I don't know. I don't know how it would all play out. But to answer the question that I know a lot of people have been wondering all season, what would it take for Darvin to save his job? I think that bar is actually pretty high at this point. We'll see though. This this ownership group and this front office has done some weird things in keeping Darvin Ham around beyond like a couple months ago when there was like an out and out mutiny basically brewing in the I don't know why I said mutiny that way. A mutiny is how I said it, but like you've had guys just that article, that piece that The Athletic wrote were 6 sources. When you have that many people coming out and saying like, yeah, this guy sucks. That's like as loud as it gets for NBA coaches. In terms of inter-organizational noise, and he somehow survived that. And while all that was going on, you had nothing but praise from ownership in the front office. It hasn't exactly been great since then, though, and I do kind of think that enough noise has existed there to where I think everybody is just kind of like, all right, let's all move on. Let's all be better than this. All right, let's go. Let's look ahead though to the rest of this week or so and where the Lakers find themselves. This was, the Golden State loss kind of hurt. This one hurts you as well, right? Because teams that are ahead of you are getting wins as you're getting losses. The Lakers' schedule isn't exactly pretty. They play the Clippers next. Clippers have played the Lakers really tough, basically since Tyronn Lue got there. You got Washington, they're a mess, so that helps. But then you got Denver, Oklahoma City, Sacramento, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Sacramento, Golden State. Atlanta's kind of a mess now with Troy Young gone, so I guess that might be a bit of a win. Philadelphia not without Joel Embiid. That kind of helps you. And then at Milwaukee, and then Memphis is a mess. Pacers have been playing better, and Brooklyn is how you finish out March. But look at that. Listen to that stretch again. Clippers, then Washington, Denver, OKC, Sacramento, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Sacramento again, and Golden State all in a row. That's what the Lakers are getting ready for here. And remember back in January when it was like, all right, this is where the Lakers have to go in their run. They have a bunch of winnable home games. They have to really rip some off here. And they didn't. This is where you wind up paying for it. This is a really, really tough stretch that the Lakers are getting ready for here that basically could define their season, could define Darvin Ham's tenure, could kind of basically decide how the rest of this is going to go. That's why when you have an opportunity, when Devin Booker and Kevin Durant don't exactly light you up, you want to win that game, right? When you're playing in Golden State and you have opportunities to keep it close, and then you don't, and then you wind up not really even being competitive there. That one kind of hurts you. right? Unfortunately, they got their win against San Antonio that they needed to get, but they only won that one by 5 points. So this team isn't exactly firing on all cylinders. And now you're going up on this stretch here where, I mean, of the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games, I see one for sure win. One? That makes me a little nervous. That makes me real nervous. All right, that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Again, a reminder, please subscribe on YouTube if you guys are watching here live. That really helps the show. I do have some things I'm working on for the show to make it better for everybody, but we do need this thing to keep on growing in order for those things to actually come to fruition. So hopefully we'll get that sorted out as well. If you're listening in pod form, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, preferably on Odyssey. And until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying, have a great rest of your, I said Trae Young. I didn't say Troy. I said Trae Young. He is hurt for the next 4 weeks at least. Until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying, have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. And for the love of God, please fire Darvin Ham.